Yo, Filippo.
Ruta.
Oh, Filippo, it feels so good, man. It feels so good.
It does feel
After
good.
so many years.
I can't believe how many years it's been since we spoke, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's been many, many years. I think it's been since 2002 or so.
Wow. On October 5th, 2022, the experiment we call Skyy in Sekenita Kradi, it would have, there would have been half a century gone since we started, 25 years.
Yes, 25 years. That's a lot of time.
You know? And I thought, why don't I reach out to all of you good people that were there from day one? And then we will have a conversation that we're having now. And in fact, with your permission, I'll record it. And then that conversation between you and I, and in fact, with all these other great guys, right? Based on that, because I have the benefit of having the memory as a first-hand experience, don't take the time to speak to you.
It's huge. A rich history.
Huge. Very rich history for Western region, which has a link with the rest of Ghana, right? When we are able to successfully put this together, other people will say, hey, now that makes sense. We have a story to tell as well. And in fact, the more stories we can tell that reflects who we are, the better we are. Because what do the wise people say? You know, if you don't know your history, then what do you know? If you don't know where you're coming from, you'll never know where you're going. So, Rutai, I am very happy getting you right now in a comfortable moment on a historic day, the anniversary of Ghana's independence, to have this conversation.
Someday when we're talking about it, we'll say, oh, on the independence, on the Ghana's 64th independence, we had this conversation.
That's when we had the conversation, and I called you from Australia. In fact, I would actually add that as much as I live in Perth in Australia, at the moment, I'm actually on a short holiday with the family in a place called
it was like 9...
you know?
While it was 9 o'clock my time, it was 5 p.m. your time.
Exactly. So, to the best of our ability, Rutai, let us start. And my first question is, Rutai, how did you get involved with Skyy? And I want to hear it from day one.
Right. After A-levels in 1996, I was trying to find my feet. I had a talent to sing, or I have a talent to sing. I was looking for something meaningful to do with my life. I had a friend, a musician friend by name General Marcus. General Marcus had a record deal with a record company in America, Jamaica, and Ghana. And because he was the first signee of that record company, he was a part owner of the company, and he had recommended me to his partner that I was a good songwriter, and so his album that was being prepared to be released, he needed me to assist in writing the album. And so Marcus and I were given an accommodation in North Kaneshie in Accra. Two of us were living together. I later went beyond just writing songs for Marcus to becoming a distributor of the music. When the album was done, I was the one going to the factory that was replicating the CDs and the cassettes by manufacturing them, pay for them, take them from manufacturing place, and then distribute them to the various shops that were selling the music, and was being paid by the various distribution shops. And then I report back to Marcus as part owner of the company. One of the shops that was selling Marcus's music was a place called Paradise Music. It was owned by Wilsonata. I had met Wilsonata on 2 occasions at 2 separate events. And he had won my admiration. The first one was at an inaugural meeting for an association that was being proposed by music business practitioners in Ghana. They wanted to come together and form an association called Association of Music Professionals. And so the very first they passed around information, and those days we didn't have cell phones and things like that. So people just by word of mouth told people who got wind of that information came together at the Afrikiko nightclub, okay, for the first meeting, the inaugural meeting, and the discussions and everything were had. And then it was agreed that we're going to meet again and have an election of the executives. And so the second meeting also took place on the 8th floor of the Trust Towers, where Vibe FM in those days used to operate. And Mr. Wilson was there at that meeting too. He was at the first one and the second one. And at both meetings, he made impeccable presentations of his argument, and I just loved him. I was like, who the heck is this? He came with such brilliance, such intelligence. His argument was apt. So as a young man who just was hungry for knowledge and information, he won my heart. But on all two occasions, after the meeting, he disappears. I don't find him. Only to meet him again one day when I was on my rounds with General Marcus, to visit these distribution shops around Accra. Then he said, this shop, Music Paradise, Marcus speaking, said, this Music Paradise place, I've given them a few CDs, so let's go check them and see how far. So we go there, we meet Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wilson is telling Marcus, after giving us the money for the CDs, because the CDs have sold out, Mr. Wilson is telling Marcus, Charlie, I'm opening a radio station in Takoradi, How I wish you were in Takoradi so you could come and host my reggae show. Then Marcus said, oh, this is great, but I don't have that talent. But this friend of mine, he is something else. So I think he will be the right person to talk to. So I started laughing. And then he said, who's that? Then Marcus said, this is Rutai. Then Mr. Wilson repeated, Rutai of Reggie Rockstone fame, because at that time, I had made a collaborating song with Reggie Rockstone, who had come in to stage a musical revolution to institute the hip life music as a genre in Ghana, and have started a whole new youth culture, pop culture that had taken over the whole country. And I was on the that first album of his that took Ghana by storm. But interestingly, we did not have a video.
What's the name of that album?
The album was called Maka Maka, and the song I made with Reggie was Sweetie Sweetie. Though it was one of the biggest songs on the album, we did not have a video for it, so people did not know my face. Mm-hmm. And everyone perceived me to be this huge, thick dreadlocks man because of how I sounded on the song. Mr. Wilson didn't believe I was the guy. So Marco said, yeah, that's him. Look, we get this all the time. People think he's some huge guy, and that's him. Don't let a voice deceive you. Mr. Wilson carried me on his back and said, you know what? This music thing is great. I don't know what you're thinking, but would you like to give radio a shot? Mm-hmm. Then I said, why not? I'd never done it, but I think it would be a great experience. Then it's okay. Then come to Takoradi. Come. come, just come see the place. You like the place, just come. So I took his number because I didn't have a phone then. And I gave him a number to my next door neighbor, so he could call me at the next doors. After that encounter, we went our separate ways, and for months I hadn't called him and I hadn't heard from him. So one day Marcus was like, "Oh, my friend in Takrady, the one that owns Music Paradise, he called and asked about you. So try and call him." So I called Mr. Wilson and he said, Charlie, but they come. You for come on. I'm almost done with the setting up and everything. Right now, we can actually just turn the machine on and we'll be on air. So try and come. You just pay me a visit, Pay me a visit, just come for a day, see the place. So I took time out and went to Takrady. I had a friend who had lived there before, so I discussed with him, and he said, okay, he will take me. So this friend of mine brought me to Takrady and came all the way to Windy Ridge, where Skyy was.
37 Windy Ridge.
So we met Mr. Wilson. That day, I'll never forget. We spent almost the whole day upstairs. And then he took us to town, went to find something to eat, took us around, showing me Takrady. But I had to return on the same day. So later in the evening, my friend and I got on a bus and returned to Accra. And then I had to come back the next time. Next time I came, I called him and he said he had a friend from BBC who had come around to train his staff. And so he wishes that I could be there, I could be part of the training. I said, wow, I wouldn't like to miss. So I took some Sunday out and came back to Takrady. When I got there, I think it was the last day of the training. The people I met on that day, I met Shakes, I met Kimby, then I met Caesar, James Caesar, Nadole Thompson. I met Yuki Ampofo. No, Yuki wasn't there. Yuki came later. Nadole Thompson. Then I met Efua DeGraft Aidoo. Then I met Maame Efua. It was just these people that were in the meeting in the training that day. So after the training, Mr. Wilson was like, Charlie, as you come there, Charlie, if you give us a show, if you give us some show or something. And I'm like, oh no, I've never done it before, so at least I would have to see someone do it, at least for a couple of times. Then I can, run a show on my own. He said, no way, you do it. And I'm like, no, I don't know how to do this. And so Atupai will assist you. So Atu took me to the library. I entered the library, looked at the reggae session, and at the time, Skyy was the only radio station I didn't know about GBC, but I had been to Joy FM, had been to Vibe FM, had been to Groove FM, all in Accra. Skyy had the biggest library, the most organized music library around at the time. So I go in there and I'm seeing all my favorite CDs, and I'm like, what? I can't wait to share this music with the public. So I go in there, pick the CDs, come in the studio. They were playing the test transmission. Mr. Wilson said, you can just feel free, just go on there and do your thing. So I don't know, I may be the first person to ever speak on Skyy, because when I came in, it was still test transmission. No one was really doing any program. It was just music they were playing. So I go in there and I was like, okay, so this is where you play the CD. These are the CD players, this is the console. This CD player is connected to this channel on the console. This one is also connected to this one. This is your mic, the channel for your mic, all on the console. So if you want to speak, just push the line for the mic up. Then the mic is activated. The music also is activated here on this channel that is already up. Once you bring it down, you're fading the music. It means that one is going off, and then this is how it works. So let's just do whatever. I go on there, and I simply did not know what to do. I just did not know what to do. But in the spur of the moment, something just occurred to me. As a creative person, so I just opened my mouth and I said, "Okay, I told turn the mic on." I said, "No, turn it off. Wait a minute, let me just think." And then I told turn it on again. I said, "No, turn it back on. Turn it back off." And I said, "Okay, you turn it on for me." He would turn it on. I said, "No, wait." We did that for a considerable amount of time. Then I finally gathered my confidence and I said, "Turn it on." So he did. We had been playing some good quality lovers rock reggae for like 30 minutes without talk.
Mm-hmm.
I opened the mic finally. Then I said, "I'm sure you're just wondering who is in the studio playing such music. Well, welcome to Skyy 93.5 FM. My name starts with an R. And at the end of each song, I'll mention the next letter." I just didn't know where this idea came from. So we kept going until I finished spelling Rutai. Then I said, "Now you can call in and tell me what my name is." And then people started calling, and some people said Ruti, some people said Rutai, some people said, "Are you the same Rutai with Reggie? Are you the same Rutai, the one did this song with Reggie Roston?" So it just became like a huge argument. Some people call and say, no, he's not the one. Some people say, no, it looks like he's the one. Listen to his voice. Things like that. Went on for like 2 hours. And then I finally said, "My name is Rutai." Then I played the song that I did with Reggie, and that was it. In a matter of 2 weeks.
Wow.
Rutai had become a household name.
What a story and what a memory. And can I just say to you, Rutai, you are well spoken, you have great memory, great storyteller. I love it.
Thank you.
I really like it. And you know what? I just felt spellbound listening to this. Mind you, I am not a stranger to most of the story you've told, right? Because in my mind, you, Michael Griffiths, Atupi, Samiatha, King D, you were the gang, a gang of talented guys that Wilson brought from Accra. And Wilson, being who he is, he's very good at sporting talent. And he knows how to place people where they should be. He's like a football coach. He knows where to place. He knows where to place players to deliver their very best. So I knew that. But the way you went back into time and weave the story to reveal what it really was, it's just beautiful to hear. It's really beautiful to hear. Now, I would like to backtrack a little bit between Reggie Rockstone and General Marcus, right? How did you, because mind you, your story, you started the story by saying that you had finished A-level and you were looking to do something meaningful with your life. So tell me, at what point did you meet Reggie Rockstone, knowing Reggie Rockstone is a guy who likes quality? He won't just pick you up, would have chosen you. He wouldn't choose you if you thought you were not a force to reckon with in terms of your creative abilities.
I had been friends with Marcus since 1993. And we're dreaming. In fact, we had even become a musical duo. We'll go to like venues around Accra and perform music composed by the two of us. In fact, some of the songs that we wrote before Marcus even could enter a professional studio and start recording his album, were songs that the two of us had written and performed for about 4 years prior to the recording of the songs, in the proper, like in a professional studio. I had learned quite a bit between that 1 year that Marcus and I had been friends. Then I met Reggie in '94. Reggie and his partner, because they were also a rap group from the UK called PLZ. It consisted of him, Reggie Rockstone, and his Sierra Leonean Ghanaian friend by name Freddie Funkstone, who grew up in Ghana, but at the time was living in England. The two of them had come to Ghana to partake of Panafest '94. But one of the reasons they came was for them to record some music while they're here in Ghana. So I was in a club with General Marcus on one Wednesday night when Reggie Rockstone and Freddie Funkstone came into the nightclub and put up some massive performance. But at the time, an African American tourist who was in Ghana for a visit had come to stay in a house opposite mine in Kotobabi, and we had become friends. So I used to take him around, sometimes, I'd become more like his tour guide, taking him places. He also happened to be a DJ, a practicing DJ in New York, and was also a music producer. He made beats, like he produced music. And so we're together in the club that night when Reggie and Freddie came in and put up their performance. And my African American friend, the DJ, he's DJ Rab. He later, to date, he's become like a part of, our family. He's, as I speak to you now, he's here in Ghana. DJ Rab and I were in the club that night. I think that night Marcus did not even show up. Marcus didn't come to the club that night. So it was me and Rab in the club that night when Reggie Rockstone and Freddie Funkstone came in and put up their performance. So after their performance, DJ Rab said he wanted to meet them. Okay, so I walked up to them and told them that I have this DJ friend who's also a music producer from New York. He would like to meet them. So they said, why not? We should join them, at their table. So we moved in, and joined them on their table. We started having a conversation, and we became friends from that night. So we started, moving. In fact, that night from when DJ Rap said he was a music producer, they said they had been in town for about a week and were looking for a producer to do something with, but they were not getting any. All the producers they met, sounded more like high life, but they wanted someone that could blend high life and hip hop, because they wanted to create a special sound, a unique sound, and start something with it. And none of the engineers, the producers they had met at the time could do that. So they were very happy when they met Rab, and Rab told them how to get that done. And so that night in the club, we didn't go home. We went straight to a nightclub, to a recording studio called Grove Music in Laboni, okay, for DJ Rab to go and check the studio out. As soon as we got there, they turned the studio equipment on. He touched a few things, and then we started hearing sound. He started doing something, and then they said, oh, this guy can do it. So everyone was so excited. We didn't sleep. We stayed up that night. Those who would drink would drink. We sat down there having a long chat until early in the morning. Then DJ Rab and I went back to Kotobabi, where we used to stay, and then came back later in the day to Laboni, where Reggie Rockstone was residing. And then our life together, started from there. So almost every day we're together, visiting studios. Reggie, started recording. So Reggie's earlier recordings, I saw him do some of the writing. I saw him make the music from when he was writing the songs to when we're in the studio, we're creating the music. He will go in a vocal booth and sing on the music that has been created and all of that. I saw all of these things. And throughout this time, I hadn't told him that I could also sing, because I felt I had met people who knew more, and I was learning. So the best way of being around them to learn was to stay invisible, if that's possible, and just learn. If there's any question on my mind, I'll just, whisper into DJ Rap's ears, and then he'll give me an answer. So I was just learning until one day, Reggie decided to record a song called Sweetie Sweetie. And while the music was playing and he was singing, I felt like I could hear my voice on that song, because the music was something that the music was more like R&B, R&B with a little bit of high life infused. It sounded so nice to me. And so I told him that I would want to be on the song. And then he said, do you sing or you rap? And I said, you just like to hear me do something. Then he said, okay, cool. So I started by singing Sweetie Sweetie Bemi na fa unsa betumi kom. We na me hwehwenti na ma ye kom. Enyumre ye be kan do ne odo abom. Enti siesie dan mu kama ma ne nye te say he trum. Sweetie Sweetie Bemi. Then he said, wow. If you write a song, I said, yeah. He said, you're on the song. You're on the song. Can you sing today? I said, wait, why not? Then he said, Charlie, Ruta is on the song. And that was it. But that day when Reggie was recording that song, if I'm not exaggerating, we had about 15 people in the studio that day. We had some television crew who were filming the recording that day. We had some journalists around who had just come, because Reggie's thing was like a revolution. It was something that hadn't happened in Ghana. So it was amazing. And every day in, day out, people were coming in, like reporters from wherever were coming to like get interviews with him and stuff like that. And that day had a number of such people around. That was the day I gathered courage to tell him, I hear my voice on the song. Then he said, let me hear something. I did what I did. And then he said, go in the studio, go in the booth and sing your verse. So I dropped my verse on it, and that was it.
And so that reveals something about you, which is, again, something I saw in you for the years we worked together, that anyone who underestimates you is making a big mistake, because you know when to, should I say, shoot. you know when to hold back. And
I think you've spoken about me like I'll speak about myself. I like to I hate myself when I speak at the wrong time. When I find myself in the midst of people that know more, I like to stay quiet. It has been a practice with me. I don't know where I got that thing from, but I think it was a lesson that was passed, some advice that was passed on to me so many years ago. I can't remember the source, but I know that when you find yourself in the midst of people who know more, the best way of fitting in is to stay quiet and listen more. And so by the time I speak, you will think I'm a master of the topic being discussed. Because before I speak, I must have stayed quiet for a long period of time, listening to everyone and picking as much as I can from everyone. And that is how I operate. And so before I say, let me give this a shot, I am confident within myself that I'm going to excel. That's the thing about me. Maybe I am not such a risk taker, which also has its bad sides.
You are also the kind of person whose reputation goes way ahead of him. Because I'll just kind of share the memory with you in this way, which is before Skyy came, I was working for the Ghanaian Chronicle, and then later on the radio and TV magazine RTV, which was very popular at the time.
Yes.
So
I think Afel Toya took over from you when you left.
Yes.
When you left RTV.
Robert Afel.
Then
yes, Beidoo?
Robert Afel took over from you. Yes, Beidoo, yes.
Yes.
He lives in New York now.
I am glad you reminded me, because I spoke to the former news editor of radio and TV magazine RTV, Augustine Nelson in Canada, and we were recalling some of these moments, and he mentioned Robert to me, and I said, yes, I haven't
Robert took over from you.
I haven't remembered Robert for a long time, So very interesting.
Yes, so now I remember. You gave me a feature in that magazine.
I did.
Right?
I was proud to.
Yes, and then a few months you joined us. And I was like, oh, he's such a great guy. So before you even joined us, I loved you. Because it was such a beautiful story about me. I kept that magazine with me for a long time. I think I gave it to my dad. I gave that magazine to him in 2002.
Right.
He came to visit me in Kumasi, and I still had it. And, to make him proud, I gave him that. And he read about me, and he was amazed, And he was proud.
Ruta, isn't it a shame? I wrote that article. I interviewed you, wrote that article, but I cannot recall one word from that article.
I know. No, but it's been 19 years or so. Or no, it's been 22 years. 24 years.
24 years.
It wouldn't be easy to remember anything.
And this is why doing this round with you and others with all of you, my colleagues, is very important, because it brings the past back to life, because it was almost as if it was dead and buried, but we're exhuming it to bring it back to life, to live it, because we cannot allow it to disappear forever.
To die, yes.
And
that would be a sin.
I say that because, hey, a few of the people we've started with, unfortunately, we've lost them. Esijan, very sadly, we lost her to cancer. Opia is dead.
Yes.
And then Mr. Mold is dead. And so
Mr. Mold also went. Yeah.
How many more of us should die, God forbid, before someone wakes up
before
to say,
we start? Yes.
Hey, let's
do this. Yes.
Let's anchor these stories, these memories, and make something of them, because it represented something significant. So I was going to add that. So you as a person, the way I got to know you is that your reputation as a result of the way you take your time to speak or approach people, and you are careful not to blow your own horn, as it were. Your reputation, goes way ahead of you. And therefore, when people meet you, you're often not what they imagine, And Ruta, I tell you what, I have a memory to share with you. And I thought, and that was one of the occasions I thought, this boy is something else. We were in town, somewhere in Sekeni Takrady, and someone met you or saw us, and then you were introduced as Ruta, and they were like shocked, like almost offended that the Ruta they've owned in their head is you.
Yeah.
Because they were prepared to just shove you aside, And they said, and they basically said, and why are you so small? Like, there was nothing to you, And then in a very funny but wise, insightful way, you said, well, are you looking to see Samson? Which is a reference to Samson, the mighty man in the Bible. And for some reason, I find myself in a similar pool with you, where I am smallish in size And then it's not how people perceive me through radio, so
exactly. But I remember when you first came in for that publication, when you first came in, when you entered the studio, I was on air. I remember that day when you entered the studio, I was on air, and so you were shocked. You stood there looking at me for a while, like, wow, is that him?
Because I had heard of you with your music with Reggie Rockstone. And Reggie Rockstone, anyone who associated with him at that time and sang a song with him on an album, well, you want to be sure that because Reggie Rockstone, you're right. From memory, he came and shook the foundation of music in Ghana. He introduced, correct me if I'm wrong, he introduced, as it was, a new genre in music in Ghana.
Yeah.
He lifted it up. There's probably maybe suggestions of that kind of music around, but it never took shape. No one knew the shape. No one could define it.
Yep.
Reggie Rockstone came and defined it. And as much as he sounded very foreign, the guy knew the local language. He knew the traditions. Yeah. He knew how to fuse it. And so he became kind of untouchable as in the way people respected him, and to think, well,
now he's an artist. He's a spirited artist because born, to Ghanaian parents at age 5, they brought him back to Ghana. English was his first language, but they brought him here at 5 and placed him in a place in Kumasi called Asokwa. And at 5, you easily pick the language spoken there locally. So he picked the Chi, then went back to Accra, went to Seoul Clinic International, then went to Achimota School, all this time learning Chi. So he goes back after, well, he became very popular after Achimota School because he was a dancer and a national champion back in the 80s. Then around that era, he left.
During the Ajete Soa dancing champion era?
Exactly, he was around, yes. During the Ajete Soa era, he was one of them. But he didn't stay around for long. He left, went back. He will see something and make something out of that. Something very ordinary, something that you don't really see anything, in, but he will pick it and create something out of that. And for me, it takes someone who's really like deeply creative to be like that. To think that I've been in America trying to find space in the American hip hop business. Okay, it's not been easy because it's competitive here. I have an African accent on my language, so these people find me a bit, like he's not like a part of us. And in America, that's very difficult. And it was also difficult because of his accent. You cannot, as an African, you cannot rap better than a black British of an African or Caribbean, decency. You can't do better than them. So it was difficult for him. So his best way of going around it was to blend what he had learned from them and then what he also knew from Ghana. And it was a great concept because it took anybody by surprise, anybody, irrespective of wherever you come from, once you hear that sound. It was unique. And after Reggie, across Africa, that same revolution took place. So Nigerians started rapping in their local dialects, in their pidgin and stuff like that, over beat that sounded like what Reggie did. South Africans started doing the same. And in all these countries, there were elements of their native sound in them. So they also had their unique stuff. So when you listen to South African hip hop is hip hop, but it has some South African influence. And you can actually tell, you can easily identify it as South African hip hop. When you listen to the Nigerians, you can feel the Niger in them. Okay, yeah. I think, like they say, a prophet is not honored where he comes from. In Ghana, we're not able to follow suit what he started. We were not able to sustain it. And so when you listen to to the Ghanaian hip hop, the Ghanaian hip hop doesn't have an identity.
Right.
We couldn't sustain what he started, and I cannot really explain what it is, but there's a bit of a problem with us. I think we are just too creative that when someone starts something, instead of us joining the bandwagon and doing it, like, being in that lane and doing it, we are doing it as a sport.
And building onto it and to make it more recognizable.
Everyone feels like, I can do something better than yours. And we all will come up and do something different, which will all be great, but it doesn't help the cause, especially when you're trying to establish an identity for your music. Because when you listen to Jamaican music, when you listen to reggae music has gone through some evolution. But you once you hear it, this is reggae music. Whether it is being made by a Jamaican or an American. In fact, as I speak to you now, the biggest selling reggae band or the biggest selling reggae musician are Americans, white boys.
Mm-hmm.
But once you hear the sound, this is reggae. You see, what we did to Hip Life is that at some point when it was going through the evolution, we didn't work together as a people. Everybody wanted to attack what someone had done by creating something different, like creating a different sound. And so we got the face of it distorted. And so we couldn't build an identity for it. You cannot really identify the Ghanaian sound. We don't have it. You see? But when you listen to the Nigerians, no one tells you this is Nigerian music. I mean, to the extent where now, when they say Afrobeat across the world, Europe, America, they are referring to Nigerian music.
Mm-hmm.
Not really like music from all across Africa. It is Nigerian music they are referring to. You see, because they stuck together as music producers. If they are producing the music, they are not really trying to outdo other producers, but they are trying to build on what other producers have done. You see? And so their thing has an identity. And now we are even trying to imitate the sound from Nigeria.
When we had a hold on the original.
Exactly.
Right.
On the original. At some point, some Nigerian artists were claiming to be doing hip life, the thing that really started. And that was when some Ghanaians were denouncing it, because it was going through some evolution, and at some part the sound became porous because it was still experimental, and there were too many people fighting each other, trying to outdo one another, and so it got a whole thing sounding some way.
Is that just like the proverbial crabs in a basket that don't work together? Exactly.
At some point, JQ, one producer called Jeff Quay, JQ dominated it with his sound, which was interesting, and because it was indigenous. It was because he's Ga, right? He created a sound that was closer to Panlogo or Jama.
Mm-hmm.
It was closer to Panlogo, but and it was so easy for anybody to sing on. And again, if we had developed that JQ sound, that could have been our identity. That could have been the Ghanaian sound. But people started outdoing him. What happened was that he also made a mistake at some point. Because of the way the system works in Ghana, the business part of the music thing works in Ghana, he focused more on how many people I can produce in a day. How much money I can make in a day,
rather than concentrate and produce something great
quality. Exactly. He was more of, because the Ghanaian music system doesn't guarantee you any royalties in the future. And so when it is your season and your sound is what has dominated the scene, and everyone is coming to you because your sound is what the the people are enjoying, every artist comes to you and wants your sound. Okay?
Right.
And so at that time, he didn't even have time to build up on what he had. So all he was doing was recycle one same set of sounds that he had created, and he was just replicating it. So KK Fosu will come, he will give you the same sound. This other artist comes and he plays the same thing. So it became monotonous at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And it became boring.
No longer interesting.
No longer interesting. It wasn't growing. You see? And so some hip life artists even started saying that they were not doing hip life because it had become so boring that we were turning our backs against it. You know, but this music scene became so strong to an extent that at some point, when you go to parties or the club or wherever music is played, if they play anything foreign, people just leave the dance floor to sit. Once a Ghanaian sound is played, they all come.
Right.
Now, instead of building up on it, we stuck to that same spot till it got monotonous, it got boring, and then people started turning their backs against it. You know, and then people who thought they could do better than what JQ was doing, instead of picking JQ's sound and developing it, they were trying to outdo him, and they succeeded. They kicked him out of business because people stopped going to him. The sound changed. Other people came in, and it had like a very how do I even put it? It became like a fragmented face. Okay, like everybody was doing something different. So it wasn't really like something that you could say, this is the Ghana sound. Everybody was there doing something. Someone would just go and copy something from Nigeria and modify it somehow. And because it's different, it will work. But because it's not authentic and it's not original, it doesn't last. You know, sound.
Very interesting insight there. Let's get back to Skyy, Rita. So Skyy started, and you were very much a part of it. What are some of the enduring memories you have of Skyy and its people?
For me, I think, you know, it was just that camaraderie. You know, you come to work. I had a show that started from 2:00 and closed at 4. So basically, I did just 2 hours in a day, but I spent almost the whole day at Skyy, right? Because none of us could stay at home, even when you are off duty. You still want to be with a family, you know. So you come to work, you close from work, and you don't want to go home. You're still there. You're waiting till the last person says, "Charlie, Yankwe." You know, then we all would join the van, you know, from Windy Ridge, and then, you know, drop people off. And next day we're coming back. We just couldn't stay away from each other. We're like brothers and sisters. We're more like siblings, you know, than friends, you know. And if I had an invitation to attend the party, anybody from Skyy who wishes to go will just come along, and we'll tell driver Kujata, you know, to be ready, you know, to take us. So if you invite me to a party, you know that you are inviting the whole Skyy crew, you know, because I'm not coming alone.
No, you go with your siblings.
I'm coming
you go with your siblings.
With my siblings, exactly. You know, if you invite me to your party, you're sure to see the JMCs, the Bob Gardiners, the Efua DeGraft. Everyone is coming, you know, and for that reason, we were almost every other day there was some fun activity for us,
and together, you know, with those outside broadcast events we did, and you know, there's always some activity going on.
Yes, there was always some activity going on, always, you know. So Skyy was more of a family house than a workplace. You know, it was more of a family meeting venue than a workplace. So we're doing something that we enjoyed, and we're getting some. I mean, those days it was peanuts, but we're enjoying it. We did not even know that they were peanuts.
It was an output of passion. It wasn't
exactly
work for sustenance.
Labor of love. Labor of love was just something we're just doing out of love.
In your estimation, what did Skyy do to Sekondi Takoradi and Western Region?
One, I think it established a pop culture, a pop culture in Takoradi first and foremost. Because it brought a different sort of entertainment, but like a very energetic, vibrant entertainment scene, got created. Got established in Sekondi Takoradi, and it even extended to Cape Coast and to some part. In fact, through the Western and Central regions, because there were times when I had invitations to host events, and where Skyy was even taking events to Takwa and Axim and places like that. So we introduced this whole pop culture in the Western and Central regions. Secondly, and maybe most importantly, was the economic vibrance that it also injected into the economy of the energy that was injected into the economy of the Western and Central regions, because Skyy came in and suddenly, businesses such as IB Clement, Mapis, name them, all these businesses in Takoradi and Cape Coast, started getting actively advertised, marketed. And so there was a business boom for these business establishments. And today, some of them have gone national. And I saw the beginning of these organizations. I saw the beginning of these business organizations in Sekondi Takoradi. So for me, one of the greatest things that Skyy did for Sekondi Takoradi, there's Western and Central regions, was the business boost, the energy that it injected into the economy.
I will agree. I will absolutely agree. We had a rather cheeky jingle. We had probably hundreds of jingles. I'm pretty sure at some point we were putting out about one new jingle a week or more. Yeah. And we had this cheeky one. I think it was Infante that says, "Onye Skyy in Manto radio." But for Skyy,
I've got a radio.
I bought a radio because of Skyy. I wouldn't have bought it otherwise.
And it is true. No matter how cheeky it sounds, it's true. There were a lot of people who didn't want to miss out on the entertainment that was going on Skyy, and so had to buy radio sets. It is true. They had to carry radio sets with them. Because I remember, like Chibom and Reggae Sound Check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Uncle Pierce Obasima and the other shows were more like TV shows. People sat down in groups to enjoy those shows. People sat down like the way a family will sit and watch a soap opera. That is how those radio shows were. I meet people who tell me, my whole household will just turn the radio on so loud when you're on, because and when you're closing, it's hurting us. And we're like, oh, the show is coming to an end. When you miss some part of the show, it's like your head.
Yeah. And people like you walked across the city like royals, because that's how people viewed you. That's what they saw you as. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It has been, pleasure as always, having the opportunity to talk to you again. Phillip, Charlie, you're one of the people that really taught me a lot. I didn't even know I was older than you. At some point, I thought you were my older brother, because there was so much I was learning from you. the humility, this, I don't know if the word is affability, like you're so affable, you're so welcoming, it's heartwarming anytime, you deal with anyone, even when it's not me, if it's someone else and I'm sitting by and I'm looking at you talk to someone, I see this fine gentleman and I'm like, oh, how can I be like this guy? So there's so much I learned from you. So much. I can't begin to, talk about all that, because I probably will talk for a whole day.
Ruta, you yourself are a kind and gentle soul, honest and lovable. And I could say exactly the same thing she said about me. And I will always consider it an honor. For all the years we haven't talked, I've always known when we talk again, it will be like we never stopped talking. So look, thank you so much.
Same here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.